Hi, I just wanted to talk about something I saw on the internet about eco burials, and they were talking about the burials that you do for people. It's now they can compost your body. They take your body, they put it in a composter, uh, and throw in some worms, some dirt, some chemicals, and in a month or two you are compost, you are dirt, and you are able to be taken by your family and put in the yard, or um, used to plant flowers or trees, grow a garden, and then if you want, you can donate the soil to someone else who will use the soil for who knows what. But that is one thing that is very popular. The other thing that is popular for burials is the water composting, where they take the body and they put it into a, I'd say more like a washing machine type thing. They put the body in, they put some chemicals, they add water, and your body just dissolves and melts away in the composter. Then they drain it into the, I guess, like flushing the toilet. And that's where you end up, in the sewer system or in the water system, however you want to put it. And then you can be used as drinking water for your neighbors, or you can be used to water the lawn where your other relatives are composted. So these are some of the things that people are talking about. Now, one of the things I wanted to mention is, it came to my attention that we are diverting a lot of energy from the earth and putting it into our sewer systems. Well, we have developed these toilets to take all of our excrement, our waste, and put it into the sewer system, where it's cleaned up and then recycled. And that really wasn't natural. In the old days, everything went back to the earth. It was recycled. So back in the 1700s, 1800s, they would have a funeral. Well, they would put the body in a box and they would have a funeral. Initially, they would have to have the body in the living room, or in a room where people, kind of sat and watched the body, because sometimes people wouldn't yet be dead, because people can have a very slow pulse. They can look like they're dead and be declared dead, and then end up buried alive. So they would leave the body for days into the viewing room in the home. People would watch the body and so forth, and then they would bury the body. Now, when they buried the body, they would put it in a box, a casket, and then they would take the body out to the grave diggers where a hole was already buried. They would put the casket over the hole. They would pull out the bottom of the casket. The body would drop out of the casket and into a hole where they had multiple bodies. Every time they put a new body in, they would throw some lye over that body. That's LYE. And then they would, a couple of shovels full of dirt, and then they would go and, wait for the next body to come in. So that there was no cement vault for the casket. There was nothing big. They were not put in lead like the Queen was. They were actually meant to dissolve into the earth. So the bodies would be there, layered up, and eventually the hole would be closed. They would start a new hole, and all of the bodies that were in the burial hole, they would go back to earth. So that is really what we were meant to do. But today, with our inventions of toilets and so forth, all of our body energy is taken and sent off to these sewer plants. Well, I was thinking, I give off a lot of nitrogen in my urine. When I go to the bathroom, that nitrogen is very good for plants and trees and so forth, but normally we would just flush it down the toilet and it would be gone. So I started recently just collecting some of my urine and throwing it out on my lawn around my plants, because my plants can use the nitrogen to help them grow. So, do you think that's a good idea? Now, technically, we should also be putting our poop, well, our excrement, however you want to say it. We should also be putting that out there in the dirt also, because that has a lot of energy. It has a lot of valuable proteins, healthy things that will help fertilize the ground and so forth. The way we're doing it, we are stripping the ground year after year of its vital nutrients, chemicals, and we are not replenishing them. So our ground is getting worse and worse because nothing is being put back into the earth. Back when people were pioneers and so forth, they were pooping and peeing all over the place, and that is how they kept things going. Now someone, I believe it was on the Joe Rogan show, they commented about how in the old days people wore hats. And that's true, because back in the old days, 1800s and so forth, when you look at the old pictures of the United States, people were all wearing hats. And that's because people used to throw their excrement, their pee and their poo, and all of the dirt, anything they collected or swept up, they would throw it out the windows. Now that was very common in England, and they would say the phrase that we all know, look out below, or look out down below, or whatever, and then they would throw it out the window, and it would hit people sometimes as they walked by. So people adopted wearing hats so that if they did get hit with something coming out of the window, when it was time, they had a special time when they would throw this stuff out so that it wasn't just all day, hopefully. But of course some people would throw it out at other times. But they had certain times of the day when people were advised to throw the stuff out the window. And some of the big mansions, they had areas behind the mansions where they collected all of the pee and poop, and that is where they dumped all that stuff, and it sat, for many, many years. And if you look behind those mansions, like when in the old PBS movies about old England and so forth, in the rich homes, they had an area back there that was handled by the servants to dump the bedroom waste every day. The queen's waste, the king's waste, and so forth, and all the servants, all their stuff went out there. So we have lost that technique. We have, in the 20th century, we were throwing everything down the sewers. In England, they didn't really get private toilets until 1960s, and that's unbelievable, because we in the United States think of having private toilets for many, many more years. Before that, we had outhouses where things did go into the ground. You didn't see it. There wasn't a flush. It was just a big hole in the ground where everything went down and kind of disappeared. But in England, they had community toilets for many years, up until I believe it was the 1960s, when people started getting more and more private toilets. So it's something to think about. Renewing, replenishing the nitrogen, the energy, the all of the good substances from our bodies that we're throwing out into the sewer. How are we going to replenish the earth to keep our earth, our ground, healthy and able to grow healthy trees, healthy crops, and so forth? And should we be thinking about that? What's your thought on peeing outdoors? I'd like to know. So, like and subscribe. Bye.